Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Puente, senior reporter with the Long Beach Post, and welcome to the Post debate featuring candidates for Long Beach City Auditor's Office. It's one of several debates we're hosting before the June 7th primary, where some citywide races could be decided in advance of the November 8th general election. For more information, including head-to-head comparisons of our candidates and all the races, visit our elections homepage at longbeachpost.com/elections. Co-hosting with me today is City Hall reporter Jason Ruiz. And over the next 45 minutes, we'll be asking questions of the city auditor candidates. They are incumbent candidate City Auditor Laura Doud and CPA Dan Miles. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. And when your time is down to 30 seconds, I'll hold up 3 fingers like this. And when your time is expired, I'll hold up my whole hand like this. And please finish your thought and wrap up your thought quickly so we can avoid interrupting you. If a candidate is attacked directly, they'll have a 1-minute opportunity to respond. And they also will have an opportunity for a 2-minute closing statement. But first, they'll have 2 minutes to introduce themselves to the viewers. And we'll start with you, Laura.
Well, hi. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. I want to thank the Long Beach Post for hosting this and giving us an opportunity to connect with the residents of Long Beach. I am Laura Doud, your Long Beach City Auditor. I've enjoyed being the City Auditor for the past 16 years, and I feel like this job was tailor-made for me. It fits right in line with my education and my experience and my love for Long Beach. It's really a wonderful privilege to serve the city where I was born, where I grew up, where I met my husband, Jim, where we've been married for 32 years, where we are raising our daughter, Kelly, right now. She's graduating from high school in a couple months, and where I'm a 3rd-generation Long Beach resident. My grandfather built part of the breakwater. My grandmother was a PTA president here. My mom and dad graduated from Poly High School, and my 7 brothers and sisters and myself all graduated from Wilson High School. So this is home. This is our community. This is the place where we've been very active throughout our lives, in the community, in the schools, at church, and other volunteer organizations. And it's really a privilege to serve the city that I am completely committed to. I'm grateful to run the office of the Long Beach City Auditor. I'm very proud of the peer reviews that our office has undergone, and to show that our office is in compliance with national standards, that we have received 8 awards from audits that we've done over the years from the Association of Local Government Auditors. And it's a distinguished award showing that our work is credible and relevant and at the highest level. We've received awards for our police audit, our police evidence, our towing audit, our parks audit, our museum audit, our animal control, and other audits. And I'm very pleased to be the head of an office that's award-winning, that's in compliance with the standards, and that also has brought in millions and millions of dollars to the city of Long Beach for the benefit of Long Beach. I'm looking forward to this interview today so I can share a little bit more about the benefits the city of Long Beach received as a result. Thank you.
Great. And Dan?
Hi, I'm Dan Miles. I want to thank the Post for this opportunity to share online this wonderful debate that we're about to have about the future in the city of Long Beach. I've lived in Long Beach my whole life. I was born and raised here, attended college here. My wife, Rita, was also born and raised here. Together, we've raised 3 wonderful daughters here in the Bixby Knolls neighborhood. I care deeply about the future of our great community. This is a community that is blessed with 340 days of sunshine every year. Sunshine where we can see everything that's going on. That's the why I am running for city auditor. I want to serve as your fiscal watchdog so that you can see what trained experts are seeing all the time. I'm not a career politician, nor have I sought office before. I'm a CPA with 35 years of private sector experience. I've managed financial operations for some of America's finest brands. Getting a start at Ernst & Young, I went on to hold senior financial positions at companies like Coors and Pepsi. I built my reputation not only on professional expertise, but most importantly for integrity and personal character. Integrity, transparency, and accountability. Those are the 3 pillars of the audit. Above all, I want to do the right thing when no one is looking. This is why I'm running on integrity, transparency, and accountability. Please pay attention to all of us as we go through this process, and please make an informed vote on June 7th. Thank you.
Great. So I'm going to ask the first question, and just we'll alternate on who gets to answer first. So since Laura did her 2-minute intro first, Daniel, you'll answer this question first. So, the city auditor is kind of like one of those positions where I don't think a lot of people know what you guys do. I mean, you guys, obviously we know what you do because we're reporters and we read your reports, and you find out if the parks are getting taken care of properly. You find out if, in general, the city's money is being spent properly. But I mean, what do you think the mission of the city auditor's office is, and why do you think that you are the best person to accomplish that mission?
It's an independent city auditor. Very few of those exist in the United States. Independence is what makes the value of this department. Be able to look at things differently than would be someone who doesn't have the financial training and expertise of an auditor. I think that is what that's what the city is looking for. They're looking for someone to provide a fiscal watchdog to the city council. We have record revenues right now. We have record potholes, most likely, in the parts of this city. I want to know where the money's going. And so I think as an independent auditor, I can bring a separate set of eyes to what's going on in the city and help the city council so that they can see where the money's being spent. I'm going to be very transparent to the citizens of Long Beach that as one of the main functions of the city auditor is to approve all of the disbursements leaving the city. I'm going to post those disbursements as they move through the office of the auditor every day for everybody to see just where the money went. I hope that that will be the start of gaining trustworthiness back in city government. It is my intent to bring the reliability of those reports to the constituency so that they can see where the money is going. I have the integrity to stand up to the prevailing winds that might be blowing against me so that everyone can see just how we're doing. Thank you.
Great. And Laura?
Yes, and I think in a nutshell, it's to make Long Beach better. The city charter states that the city auditor's responsibilities are to perform performance audits of all offices, departments, agencies, commissions. So the duty to do performance audits, to make sure that the city government is operating as efficiently and as effectively as possible to provide the services to the residents of Long Beach. As I have been in office, I have tried to make myself available to the public to find out what's on their mind, what is most important to them, and how we can best serve the citizens of Long Beach to get the services they need in the most efficient and effective manner. What are the critical issues of the day? Things are changing. There are serious problems the city of Long Beach is facing daily. Things are changing daily, and we have some serious problems. So I try to keep myself as informed as possible so that we can focus our limited resources on the issues at hand to provide the best benefit to the citizens of Long Beach.
Okay, Kelly, you're up next.
Next question. The city auditing process is the auditor will investigate a city department and make recommendations. And are there steps that you believe the city auditor could take to and make to become stronger, have more and stronger enforcement, or just some process where the city auditor could have some more strength. And
Who's that for?
oh, Laura first, yeah.
Okay, yes, we, in our audit reports, we make recommendations for improvement. It is all about, audits don't really mean anything unless the recommendations are implemented. So we make recommendations. We are constantly communicating with the department as we are auditing them so that they can make the implementation of the recommendations as we go, so things can get moving in the right directions quickly. We put all of our audit reports on our website. We talk about transparency. We have accounts on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We updated our website. We have a My Auditor app. So we put all of our reports on there so that the people can see the recommendations that we make. And then every few years, we do an implementation audit report. Those implementation audit reports are called Report on Results. There are a few of those reports on our website right now that we did follow-up work on to ensure that the recommendations that we did make were implemented. And you can see, the public can see kind of a report card on how city departments are doing with the implementation of the recommendations that we make. So I think to make things stronger is that enforcement of knowing that we'll be back to check to see if you did actually implement the recommendations that we've made.
Okay, and now I want to ask you a follow-up question to that, and Dan will give you additional time to answer both. That she actually hasn't hit the 2-minute mark yet, but when you're doing this job, should the city auditor prioritize maintaining good working relationships with people in the city, or prioritizing transparency and efficiency? Because I think on your site, it mentions that the audit is a team effort, a team effort. But if you're auditing a department, can it be a team effort if there are issues being found?
Well, I think it's a balance that you need, a professional judgment and a balance that you can make, because obviously you want buy-in. You want buy-in from the departments so that they will implement it. Our goal, like, I don't see the auditor's office as the enemy per se. The commonality that we have with department heads is that I believe we all want what's best for Long Beach. Now, it is helpful, I think, to have an independent auditor to go into a department to see with fresh eyes ways that things can be done better, more streamlined, more efficient. And so we can make those recommendations. But at the same time, our goal is to help the department meet their objective the best way possible. The commonality, again, is we want that department to provide the services to the best ability to meet the needs of the public. And we believe the departments want that too. So at times there is some tension, but if we can get their buy-in, the implementation becomes a lot easier. Okay.
Dan, the same question to you. The initial question from Kelly was, if you had any ideas to possibly, if you think the city auditor's office needs to be made stronger, and if you have any ideas of how to do that. And then also, the part about maintaining good working relationships versus, maybe stepping on some toes to find what you need to find if you're elected.
Thank you, Jason. As you've indicated, it is really a personnel issue. Do you have the right team around you? Can you hold yourself to be of the highest esteem so that people who are in that audit world want to work for you? Can you attract and can you hold people that are very good, top-notch auditors? I would like to see the auditors stretch their careers when they come into the department. The CIAs that belong in the department, the certified internal auditors, need to stretch for the next level, CPA and things like that. It is my intention to help and mentor so that they can get to that and not be recruited off to other entities within the city, sometimes in county and or state, and leaving disgruntled. I think the whistleblower would have something to say about the training and the mentoring that went on in the department. The department has had some fairly high turnover recently. I don't know the specifics of it because that information is not there. It used to be there. I look at the departmental results of how many audits there were. In 2016, there were 12 performed by the department. There hasn't been 12 since. I realize that COVID would be some people's first inclination as to why that hasn't happened. Actually, it's a little deeper than that. COVID, while it did impact, there are certain audits that must occur, and those all occurred without exception. So my point is, you develop the team and the staff, you hold regular meetings with the staff, and you follow the staff's direction. They're the ones interacting with the people that they're auditing on a timely basis. You have to remain independent and above all. So I look for independence in auditors as the first tool to build from. That's what I intend to do when I join the audit team.
Okay, and just a point of clarification, I thought it was amazing that you said there hadn't been 12 audits since then. I did pull the page up, and there are quite a few since 2016. Anyways.
Performed by the department?
Yeah.
And
I'll send you the list.
Anyways.
I would like to rebut, since he did refer to me and my
Sure.
office.
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
So I think worldwide, there has been people that have moved on and it's a different way of working now. So there are a lot of people are leaving and changing the way that they're doing things. But, I just want to give an example of the power of one audit. You can't judge the success of an auditor's office by the number of audits. It's the power of one audit. Well, our oil production tax audit has brought in $50 million to date since that audit went on the ballot in 2007. $3.3 million every single year to the citizens of Long Beach, to the city of Long Beach, for public safety. That one audit brought in $50 million to date as a result of one audit for public safety, for multiple police academies, fire academies, 14 motorcycle police officers, a new fire truck. This fire truck 14, the chief said that fire truck 14 contained a 3-story house to a 1-bedroom fire, because that firefighter truck 14 was available and fire truck 17 didn't have to come, which would have taken 20 minutes more. So that family's home was saved. But that's the power of one audit. And you can't judge the success by the number of audits. It's the impact the audits are having on the community.
Thank you for that response. I'm glad you brought up fire, because the next question has to do with water. The water department has, you guys are familiar with Measure M, right? The water transfer measure that was ruled unconstitutional by an appellate court in the state of California, and now the city's having to return those funds to the water department. However, the water department has signaled that it as of now will keep in place the fees that were generating that additional revenue for the Measure M transfers to the general fund. Those transfers, like I said, were deemed unconstitutional, but the fees were not. So as those are continued to be charged to customers, as the auditor, do you think that those funds should be subject to an ongoing audit, not just once? I mean, just making sure that that money is being spent on water related purposes. And I think this one goes to Laura first.
I believe it goes to Dan, but I'll take it. If
were we?
I think it goes to Dan first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan.
Measure M was promoted by Laura and other city leaders. It was a way to close a budget gap. We are currently experiencing record revenues to the general fund. That measure, at the time it was being discussed, it was also being discussed as, this is probably illegal. We can't do this. Unfortunately, people did not listen to that side. They listened to the side that promoted it. We lost at trial court, we lost at appellate court, we lost at the next level. We were insistent on punishing the people who were paying the water so that we could transfer money to the general fund of the city of Long Beach. That was wrong. It's still wrong. The money should go back to the water department. The water department should look at what their needs are and only charge their residents for the rates that are necessary to run the water department. The city needs to return all $31 million.
But if they don't, and you're elected auditor, what are you pledging to do about that extra money that's being charged to customers?
Well, isn't that required by the courts to send the money back? And if it's not, then I will make sure that the water department is using the additional money that they're using for the rates, not to generate surpluses, but to continue to deliver high quality water to the citizens.
Okay, now it's Laura's turn.
Yes, so I did not support, encourage, or endorse Measure M, just to get the record straight. Regarding Measure M, and I believe your question is, should the rate stay the same or should be an ongoing audit to verify, to monitor things?
Yeah, if the rates stay the same, what should the auditor's office do to ensure that money is actually, going to appropriate purposes?
Yes, that's a great question. And our office did an audit of the water department in, I can't remember the exact year. I think it's around 2014. But we did look at the rates. We looked at their reserves. We looked at the way the water department was calculating their rates. And the way that we found they were calculating their rates was based on their CIP projects and their budgeting. So we found that when they were setting their budgets, they were projecting deficits because they were assuming that all of the capital projects all the money was being spent on capital projects that they were budgeting. What we found out at the end, when we looked at actual expenses compared to budgeted expenses, was that in the water department, about 57% of their budgeted capital improvement projects were spent. In the sewer budget, was only about 25% of the CIP were spent. Therefore, the budgeted deficits that they were projecting didn't materialize. They had a full-blown surplus because the capital projects weren't being spent. And they had a 566% surplus. So that's what we audited. That's what we made the recommendations. Like, you don't need to increase rates when you have this big surplus. Their surplus was, the policy is to keep about a $6 million. That was at the time. But our goal would be to make sure you maintain policy and not gather great surpluses to keep rates high. So yes, I would be monitoring it.
Great. I think Kelly has a question for you guys.
Yeah, and this question kind of follows this. So what departments or programs would you pick to audit and why? And Laura, you can start first.
Thank you. So I think the water, definitely, because of Measure M, this is a huge sum of money that we're dealing with. And it's important to the community as well as on top of the judgment. So this is something that we absolutely need to watch. Another one, Kelly, that I'm watching closely is the Queen Mary. Others have said, why bother? But, we can't kick the can down the road anymore. At some point, somebody has to do something with the Queen Mary. What are we as a city going to do? Right now, there's discussions about it moving to the port. Things aren't settled there yet. But we're talking about huge sums of money for repair, and all of the options available require huge sums of money. So it's something that we do need to figure out as a city, to figure out a plan and for this huge piece of property and for the Queen Mary. Crime and homelessness are two major problems in our city right now. With the homelessness, the multi-service center would be an area I would like to look at to make sure that they have the proper processes in place to adequately provide the necessary resources of those in need to maximize that center to the very best ability. I would also like to go back to the police department regarding crime. Crime is up. It's a serious problem. We need to figure this out. One of the when you say 3, do I have like 1 minute left?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay. So in the police audit that we did several years ago was about civilianization. Right now we have officers working behind desks. We got to get the officers from their desks, put them out on the streets, and use civilians behind the desk. So this is just a way that something I would revisit with the police department to get more officers on the street to help protect our community and keep it safe.
Great. That was right at 2. That was excellent.
Dan?
Again, same question to you.
This is a topic that came up in last night's debate, and I would like to continue on that thing. While the audits that were just discussed are always important, there are other ones that I think continue to miss. It goes to the independence of the auditor. As we know, the city is going through a tremendous redevelopment, and we have an affordable housing crunch. Housing is our #1 expense to anybody who lives in the city. What is the cost of your rent and things like that? 2.5 years ago, a deal was brought to the city called Ocean Air. Laura Doud and Mayor Robert Garcia formed a PAC to promote measures AAA, BBB, CCC, and DDD. And they took money into their PAC from developers who later came to the city council and said, we'd like to do this deal called Ocean Air. Ocean Air is an affordable housing project, or at least that's how they represented themselves. And the contributors to that PAC were led by or were lobbied by one of Laura Dowd's first hires in her department. The independent committee that reviewed that project said it was a bad deal. Yet the deal went through to the city council after being whitewashed by one of the departments. The city council then approved it. We now have a shortage in property tax funds. Hopefully we'll get into that later. If not, I'll continue to address it. But that goes to the heart of the independence and what you pick to choose to audit.
So is your answer you want to audit the Ocean Air project?
Or projects like that were brought to the city and the effect that were described in the report from HR&A on the property taxes. Jason, do you know that in 2011, we took in $218 million in property tax, and 10 years later, we brought in $220 million, a $2 million increase over 10 years.
Well, I mean, that also depends on people selling their houses and not. But anyways, I think if Laura wants to respond, yeah, I believe you did bring her up. So if you want to respond to anything that was said.
Pretty much everything we're talking about is going to involve her.
Or we can move to the next question.
My whole intent of the measures was about Measure AAA and getting the auditor's office full access to information to do our audits. At the time before Measure AAA, the office did not explicitly have the right to do performance audits, and we were getting a lot of resistance within City Hall. So I stepped up and as the city auditor and said, look, we need Measure AAA so that the city auditor can have full access to all documents needed. That was my whole intent and desire for stepping forward and being a part of those measures.
Okay, well, you know what? We didn't write these questions in this order on purpose, but it kind of fits in perfectly. I mean, you brought up Measure AAA, and I remember that was in 2018, right? You were here in our office to my right when we did the debate here. You were with the mayor. I don't know that created a perception issue, but like having the auditor who's supposed to be independent sitting next to the mayor and campaigning for, I know you were campaigning for Measure AAA, but that debate was for all 4 of those measures. what do you, and this will go to Dan first, so you have a little time to think about this, but I mean, what would you do to ensure that the public can have faith in the independence of the auditor's position? Because it's really important, given that the work that you guys, whoever ends up winning this election, the work that you guys are going to do, it's really important that it's done independently. And I'm not implying that you know, campaigning for that measure was, you know, a quid pro quo, but it may have given people perception issues about the office.
You're actually very right there, Jason, and I'll send you over after this a picture of Laura championing Measure M as well. But you're right, when you go out and you promote these under the idea of good governance, people have to understand that you're really governing from a good governance standpoint. The whistleblower's complaint that was in part substantiated says, no, that didn't occur. So people have a right to understand that they can't trust what comes out of the audit department. The independence has been compromised. And what I'm saying here is, especially, and I used Ocean Air, but there are other projects similar like that that are going through the city. And the fact that we've had a less than 1% increase in property tax, our #1 source of revenue for the city over the course of 10 years, when every property owner pays 2% every year, it is suggesting that a question should have been asked and answered long ago. That number could be as high as 100 million a year. It could be as low as 25 million a year. But the bottom line is there's large sums of money gone from the property tax. Property tax used to provide almost 30 to 35% of the city's tax revenue. It's now down in the low 20s. So what I'm going to do is continue, because I am independent, the first place I'm going to look is right back at that property tax.
Okay, and I just, you know, I don't think I sometimes forget that not everybody is, you know, following city stuff as closely as we are. So I'll clear up. Ocean Air is a project here down on Ocean, a little off to my left. But as far as how many other projects like that are coming in down the pipe, I believe it's one, and the city did work into that project that they would maintain their rights to the share of property tax from that particular one. And then I also want to clarify about the measures that, you know, Laura was here in our office debating for. One was for the auditor's office, and then another was for the Independent Redistricting Commission, and then the other was the Ethics Commission, and then the controversial one was the term limit extensions. But just, you know, for everybody out there who's wondering what we're all talking about right now, that's where we're at. So Laura, I just wanted to clear that up before you got into your answer.
Thank you. And yes, Dan will show you a picture of me with Measure M. And I stopped by the restaurant on the night that they were celebrating. I went over to the group, and there was a person taking a picture at the time. I was talking to a friend. I was in the picture with Measure M. The night or the day, I don't really remember. There was a celebration at the restaurant that I stopped by. But I just want to say I didn't support, encourage, or endorse Measure M. Even though there's a picture after the fact with me in it, I was not supportive of that. I don't know what Dan just said about a substantiation of the whistleblower complaint, so I'm not sure what his point was on that, so I'm not exactly sure how to debate that. But going back to the measures, my whole goal was about the auditor's office. It's not easy to do a charter change. It's not easy to step out of your comfort zone and get out in the public and start campaigning for something. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage. You put yourself out there for everyone to just throw darts at you. My whole intent was regarding Measure AAA. That was the main charter change that I was focused on. The others came with it. It was the all four together. I think it made it easy for all of us to get passage, but I came to a point where I could accept Measure BBB. I could accept it because it did show that people could continue to run time and time again with the write-in. So to limit it to 3 years seemed okay to me. At the same time, council members were kicking the can down the road with the Queen Mary, and they would always say, hey, the Queen Mary's not going to sink on my ship, so on my watch. So I'm not, I don't care. But I'm thinking, well, hey, if they have 3 terms, it might sink on their watch. So let's go with 3. And I'm serious. That's what I was thinking. Hey, I'm going to support 3 terms because maybe it will sink, and maybe they will think about long term that things might explode on their watch. So
I haven't actually looked out the window. It might have sunk already. I'm not sure. We have
Just quick follow. I had a quick follow-up question for Laura, because you pushed so hard to get Measure AAA passed and amended for the city charter. And we haven't really asked you, how has that, since it's been passed, how has that impacted your office?
Well, now when we do performance audits, we don't get as much resistance or pushback. At times we would get resistance on certain documents or requests, and now, or even the authority to perform a performance audit. When I first took office, one of the first audits I did was the police department. The police department hadn't been audited in 12 years. Our office went to audit the police department, and that was not easy to get that audit off the ground. There was tremendous resistance, and I continued to get resistance throughout time. And I finally came to the point where I had to do something about it. And so now it's easier without the resistance.
Okay.
Let's give Dan an opportunity to answer that question. Now that, you didn't have to.
I'm sorry, Jason. I would like to rebut because she addressed something that I said when she said, I don't know what Dan's talking about in the whistleblower. So I would like to have a time to explain to her what I meant.
Sure. And then if you want to tack on what, now that the performance audits are available to the office of the city auditor, how important is that?
Fine. The whistleblower report, which have been substantiated in part, were performed by an outside audit firm, RSM. And RSM spells out in very clear evidence that for the past 15 years, the auditor spent $1.6 million of taxpayer money in hiring 2 lobbying firms for which she had personal connections to. We don't know what services the firm provide. We don't know what the taxpayers got for the 1.6. And we do know that she is now saying she's going to follow her own best practices now that she's been caught. One of the things that RSM said, and it's very, very clear because they say it 5 times, it is not possible to determine the reasonableness, the appropriateness, the applicability of the work, or the fairness to the cost to the city of the services provided. And then they talk about Kendall Goggin, and they talk about the Davis Group.
Do you want to answer you don't have to answer the question about the performance audits, but we do need to move on to the next question.
Did Laura want to have a chance to rebut that, since he did bring up?
Yes. And yes, and I want to assure the citizens of Long Beach and to reaffirm my commitment to serve with the highest level of respect and honesty. The RSM report found no wrongdoing. They found no violation of city policy. Yes, I will follow best practices. I have been held responsible for a high level, high impact, complex circumstances that require my guidance and my decision making. I hired high level professionals to help me with the city. All of our work was for the benefit of the city of Long Beach. These professionals helped me make decisions that brought in millions and millions and millions of dollars for the benefit of the city of Long Beach. And serving the city of Long Beach, it's a duty, it's a privilege, it's a solemn duty. I have a great track record to show that the work that we did has brought in tremendous value to the city. And I used professionals as well as my team to make all of that happen.
The next question is actually on brand. It's Kelly's asking it, but it's seamless.
Yeah, this moves us into the next question. And for viewers who are, the RSM report was essentially almost like an audit of the city auditor's office. And one of the things this report earlier this year found was that the city auditor's office doesn't follow typical city protocols when it comes to contract oversight, providing invoices and details like that. And the main reason that it doesn't is because as the city auditor being elected an official, it doesn't have to follow necessarily the rules for city staffers. Do you believe that this rules should be changed where the city auditor's office should follow the same city protocols as all city staffers, regardless of whether it's an elected official position? And I think that, does that go to Laura? I think that's the next.
Yeah, it's to Laura.
Yes, absolutely. I believe the auditor's office, I believe all elected officials, I believe we should all be abiding by the same policies and procedures so that this doesn't happen again. I take responsibility for what happened. I will, in the future, moving forward, absolutely comply with every city policy. Could I have done things different and better? Yes. In hindsight, I could have, and I would have. And I'm committed to doing a better job in documenting contracts and work that's being done. And again, just want to affirm that all of the work that I am doing, as well as the professionals I hire and city staff, we're all working for the benefit of Long Beach. That's my whole heart, my whole soul, my work, my devotion, my commitment. And I believe I have a track record to show that what I've been doing has been for the benefit of the city.
Right. And I don't think the question was like, I mean, obviously the audit was of your office, but the question, I mean, because this applies to every elected official, like they don't have to play by the same rules as regular city employees on certain issues. Do you think it would be best practice if that rule was changed? So not just, Laura Doud or, Dan Miles, but every elected official has to play by the same rules as employees.
Yes, absolutely. I would like to lead the charge in making the change. And I believe wholeheartedly that we all ought to be abiding by all the same rules.
And Dan?
Okay.
It goes without saying that after 16 years that she's come to this conclusion that it is a good idea to follow her own best practices. Folks, I can't disagree more with the representation that this is a best practice. It's not a best practice. It's not a best practice to funnel $1.6 million to the people who helped get you elected. And that is what RSM, the outside independent group, said. It's not possible to determine the reasonableness, the appropriateness, the applicability of the work or the fairness to the cost to the city for the services that were provided. Those aren't my words. Those are the outside auditors who audited her department. Don't take my word for it. Go and read. I wish the Long Beach Post had that on their front page somewhere so people could see the RSM as we go through the elections. I don't know if you have. I haven't seen it in a while. I do know it's available at other places.
We did cover that.
This document, I'm sorry?
We did cover that.
I know you covered it, and it's being covered as a best practice. Best practice in the audit world has a different meaning than what is being portrayed at. A best practice involves efficiencies. This is not a best practice. It is not efficient to send 1.6 million to the people who helped you get you elected and using taxpayer money to do it. It is not efficient to take money into your PAC and then turn around and stay silent when that group comes to the city council with a deal that favors them. There's total lack of independence in this. It stinks that somebody would even stand up and say, well, in the future, I'll do that.
Well, I mean, just to kind of address the actual question, would you support changing the rules? So let's say that you're elected, would you support a rule saying that you and every other elected official in the city would have to use the same reporting requirements as every other city official?
I'm surprised you didn't start off with the fact that when the city charter and the founders of the city said, this is the most accountable job. This is for the people to hold that person accountable and to vote them out of office when they defy that trust.
So it's a
That
yes.
goes to the integrity. Yes, sir. That
Okay.
goes to the integrity of the person to be able to follow their own advice.
Laura, did you want to rebut on this? Because he did make some accusations there.
Yes,
Yes,
and yes.
respond.
So I just want to say that Michael Gagan did not assist in any way, shape, or form with my election in 2006. He has never been a lobbyist, registered lobbyist in the city of Long Beach. He was a former deputy chief of the Secretary of State of California, chief deputy treasurer. He was a governing board of the CalPERS Board of Governors. He has multiple decades of experience in municipal and government. He has helped me with CalPERS decisions. One decision that he helped me make regarding a pre-funding, the city wanted to pre-fund a CalPERS payment, and in consultation with Michael Gagan, he advised my assistant and I not to do it. The city did not do it. As a result, saved $3.5 million as a result of a decision not to pre-fund a CalPERS payment. So there's a lot more to the story than what Dan is saying. And I have hired high-level professionals that have provided incredible expertise to help benefit the city of Long Beach. And the public is my client. They have helped me communicate with the public to get our message out better to the public. Audit speak, it does not go over well with the public. And as a trained auditor, I hired professionals to help me communicate our message to the public. And I believe this has been extremely valuable over the past 16 years.
So are you in the process of providing updated information to the city, just as for the ongoing issue with your work with Michael Gagan and showing, kind of documenting what that was for?
Yeah, what right now, they're not on retainer at this moment, but I'm happy to document the work that they have provided for us. Yes.
All right.
Has
Let's
that
see.
been requested?
I'm sorry.
Has
Let's-
that been requested of you, Laura?
We're asking the questions, Dan.
Yeah,
So with that in mind,
I'm being rebutted and she's not, but that's okay.
she didn't mention your name.
Yeah, she did actually, but that's all right.
We'll give you a minute. Do you have anything to say?
Well, in the RSM report, they asked for information because they said it is not possible to determine the reasonableness, appropriateness, applicability of the work, or fairness to the cost of the city. They asked for additional information and access. They never got it. She has criminal defense attorneys also representing her and providing her information. Why that information has not already been provided, this matter would be behind us. This occurred last summer. All of this information started becoming widely known during the holiday season. There's been plenty of time to bring forth all of the information, and unfortunately, we still don't have it. We need fresh eyes on our money.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can talk a little bit more on the RSM report with this next question. A lot of the auditor's work, and we put this in the Compare Your Candidates questionnaire that we sent to you guys, and we'll be publishing soon on our website. But a lot of the auditor's work, Laura made a comment earlier about an audit doesn't mean anything unless the changes are implemented. But I mean, for the public to be able to even know that audits exists, right? I mean, I don't know what the volume is on your website, how much traffic you're getting to the reports, and they're really important reports because they're looking at critical issues, and your office has access to files that the general public will never probably see or have the time to go through. So it goes onto your website, and the public probably does, not a lot of the public probably gets to read it or chooses to, but it is available. So what would you do, both of you, whoever's elected, what would you do to make that more not readily available, but to make sure that more people are digesting the important work that your office is doing, and to build a relationship. I know obviously Laura has done that over the past 16 years, but to build that relationship with the public so they know that you exist and that you guys have really important work that you're publishing on your site. I think this one goes to Dan first, right?
Thank you. I would reach out through the social media, what networks that are there, but at the same time, I would reach out to the community groups. They're the community groups are the groups that came to me first when I was first announcing that I was going to run and say, hey, have you thought of these types of audits? And yes, I have. It is the communication when you have the trust from the people that you're going to be doing the right thing. That's the key communication tool. The ability to get people to do the right thing because you've been doing the right thing. So I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to show the people where the money's being spent. And I'm going to be out there and saying, saw all this money going here. Here are the audits where we've performed against those. And you can see the accountability of the people who got those monies to spend. I think that a very proactive auditor is much better than a team player auditor. A person that goes out and reaches out to their constituency, which is not necessarily the city council, but it is the people of Long Beach. And when the people of Long Beach trust you to tell them the truth, to tell them what is really going on, to tell them why property taxes have fallen from the mid-30s to the mid-20s, why these things are going up, why are they being taxed all the time on all of these other ones? Why do we have record revenues and potholes? Why do these still exist together? When you have that trustworthy, that's when you can reach out to the people. Otherwise, they're not going to listen no matter how you reach out to them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Laura?
Yes, I would continue to make myself available. I have spoken in every single council district. I've spoken at neighborhood associations, business associations. I attend community events, concerts in the park and beach streets and other things. I put myself out there to listen to people, to get their feedback, to get their suggestions. People have been very receptive to me. They feel comfortable talking to me. I will continue to put our work on our website. Again, all of the social media channels. I was the first auditor to go on all of the social media channels and to put our work out there. So any possible way that we can communicate our work to the public, I believe that we have done that. I have never turned down a speaking engagement one time. I've been asked to speak at several different graduations. I've been asked to speak at Leadership Long Beach, that many different organizations throughout the city. I'm there, I'm available, I'm speaking, I'm accessible. I want to hear how the city's doing, how we can do better, and how we can better serve the people. I'm devoted to that. I'm committed to that. And I have very good working relationships with people throughout the city. Because I've been out there so much, I have a lot of relationships, and many people have offered tremendous support. And so I will continue to do that.
Great. Well, I think that about wraps up here. We're going to give each of you a 2-minute closing statement.
Well, I think we can do both. I mean, we had one more, and we want to be mindful of your time. We told you we'd be out of here by 2, but I think we could probably squeeze it in. Kelly.
Okay. Which oh yeah, we'll ask about the funding. Is the city auditor's office adequately funded to do the immense amount of work involved in auditing, the city the size of 500,000 people? I know Laura said it'd be great if you had a larger staff. So do you feel that the city auditor's office is funded? Should you have more staff? And I think is it Dan's turn to?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Dan or Laura? Sorry, lost track.
Someone needs to be auditing the order of the answers.
Yeah.
Okay, let me know who's first.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
go then.
When I started looking at the audit department back in 2014 and 15, I didn't see anything that caused alarm. But as I said, sometime after 2016, the productivity really started to drop off. And so I'm looking at the department and going, what can be done to help it to step forward? That is my main focus. That's what I want to help it to move forward with. I really truly believe that the audit department has underperformed. It had 22 positions at one time in the budget. It went to 18. I didn't hear anything from the auditor saying, gee, we're losing all of the headcount that we need. I can tell by the whistleblower and some of the things that were in that report that the general staff of the audit department and the key turnover in auditors somehow disappeared. They used to be on there. They used to be listed as to who they were. Now they're not. I don't know why. So I don't know what, and this I'll have to defer to Laura as to what the proper department is. But to your point, Kelly, yes, I actually think that the dollar amount that is allocated to the audit department needs to be looked at. And I think it probably is underfunded, but I don't know that for a fact. Yeah.
And Laura?
Yes, the city auditor's office is one of the smallest budgets in the entire city. I think civil service is just a little bit smaller than ours. But with the passage of measure AAA and our ability to do more, I would like to do more. I would like additional funding. I would like to continue to staff up again and do as much as possible to help with the problems facing our community. We do have serious budget challenges, and I don't know how successful or if this is the right time to ask for it, especially with the money that the city needs to come up with for the Measure M. However, I will continue to maximize the talent that we have in our office. And again, I would say not to measure the success of our office by the number of reports. Some audits take 1 or 2 months, some take a year, and some have greater impacts than others. So we're doing our very best, and I want to continue to do more. I'll continue to fight for more. Yeah, I think it is a little underfunded.
And just so our viewers know, I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but Long Beach is one of the few cities in California that actually has an elected city auditor. That's right, Laura? I mean, it's like one of just a handful. So this is a very unique position for a city to have, and for an election like this. So you don't see this too often. And
so that was our final question.
that was our final question. So we'll give you guys each 2 minutes to give a closing statement, and I think we start with Dan.
Was it Dan? Who went first? I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh no, Dan went first. So it's Laura. Laura, you do the closing statement first.
Well, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve the city over the past 16 years. It seems like yesterday when I started. I feel like I'm just getting going. We have accomplished so much in the past 16 years. I'm so proud of the work that we've done. I mentioned a little bit about the oil production tax, where the city is receiving $3.3 million every single year from public safety. That's really nothing to take lightly. Sometimes when you talk about audits, people's eyes glaze over and they don't really understand why they should care about auditing, or what value it has for them, or what's the benefit for them. This oil production tax money that I championed and got, it needed a 70% pass rate because it was dedicated to public safety. And it did receive, I believe, a 71% passage rate. This money has helped fight crime. It has helped our community become more safe as a result of this, with more officers and more firefighters and the new fire truck, as well as a HEART team within the fire department. HEART stands for Homeless Education and Recovery Team, that takes a proactive look with mobile units to help the homeless get the services they need. The police department also has something called an outreach emergency program. And this was also funded by Prop 8 to help the most vulnerable to get the resources that they need. Right now, Prop H funding is helping a mental health team within the police department. So there are tremendous benefits the community is receiving as a result of this. So this is why they should care. Also, 30 seconds left. Measure D with the harbor transfer, that was something else that I championed. Since 2010 till now, it has brought in $150 million for the coastal projects, for cleaner beaches, new restrooms, greater reconstructed parking lots, the bike path, the running path. All of these benefits are for the community. It's a result of the work that we did to put ourselves out there to bring in the millions of dollars that the city is benefiting from that. Thank you very much. I would appreciate your vote on June 7th, and I would love to continue fighting and working for this great city that I love. Thank you.
And Dan?
Thank you again, Jason and Kelly, for inviting me to talk to the city that I was born and raised in. There are two numbers that we're going to talk about here in this closing statement, 16 and 35. 35 years of experience in both public and private, going from Ernst & Young all the way up through and to including as the CFO of a publicly traded company. I know what it is to have integrity. You cannot convince people to give you tens of millions of dollars unless you are transparent and you're going to be accountable for those funds. We've had 16 years with the same auditor, 16 years. We've also had 4 presidents, and here in Long Beach, we've had 5 police chiefs in that same time frame. As I articulated earlier about the independence, I believe our current auditor is severely compromised in both independence and integrity. Independence in that she defended and took money from people who brought stuff to the city for their own benefit and did not say anything. And the integrity to stand up and do the right thing when people weren't watching. I really hope that on June 7th, people take into account that they hold the power to hold our independent auditor accountable for those actions and vote for Dan Miles on June 7th. Thank you very much.
June 7th, very important day. It's the primary election. If for whatever reason, you guys, I guess someone would have to get 50%, right? This is probably
That's right.
June 7th, unless somebody has a massive write-in campaign. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Dan Miles, and he's running for city auditor, city prosecutor's next, and Laura Doud, who is currently the city auditor. Thank you guys for joining us here today for this forum. Remember that the primary election is June 7th, and this race will be decided then. Other races could be sent to the November runoff. You can visit lbpost.com/elections for more information on candidates and upcoming events, like more debates and forums. There's I don't know, last time I counted, probably like 11 that we have on our list right now in the coming weeks that are being hosted by neighborhood associations and other entities across the city. In addition to posting this video on our site, we're also going to be publishing our Compare Your Candidates tool, which is another way for you guys to, reference what people running for office think about certain issues that we ask them about and compare them to each other. So those questions came from within our newsroom, but also from questions that you guys submitted through our survey that we put out earlier this year. So thank you for that. So for Kelly Puente, I'm Jason Ruiz. We'd just like to thank everybody for reading and watching the Long Beach Post.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.